Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. And it's Bookmas. I'm filming this on the first day of December, and I know this is coming out at the end of December. I'm not sure where in the lineup, but it is coming out at the end of December. So today we are going to talk about, and yes, it's Sunday, and Dave is home, and no, we don't have a goose. We're going to talk about the first 3 genres for Discover Catholic Fiction 2025. And I have created a channel in the Discover Catholic Fiction portion of my Discord server, specifically for recommendations. So I'm going to list all the books that I recommend as the videos come out. If you have recommendations for a Catholic fiction book that isn't listed, please, I'm more than interested. So we can all keep each other in the loop, and I'm sure we all know things that other people, haven't run across yet. So please share. And we are going to cover 3 genres today. We're going to cover Catholic biblical fiction, Catholic classic fiction, and Catholic secular fiction. And I will explain what Catholic secular fiction is when we get to it. So, without further ado, let's dive in. So first up would be Catholic biblical fiction. I've only got 1 book in this category. I know this book is a trilogy. I know this book has the Catholic seal of approval, although that is mentioned nowhere on this book. And I have read this one, and that is The Well by Stephanie Lansom. This is the first book in the trilogy. And the other one is The Tomb. I always forget the 3rd book in this series. I'll put the other 2 covers right here. I enjoyed this one. It is a little too young adult for me, but that being said, I did very much enjoy the story. I enjoyed the biblical historical aspect of it without it being making you biblically uncomfortable, for lack of a better description. And that is the only recommendation I have for Catholic biblical fiction, is this trilogy. I don't know of any others. If you do, please leave them in the comments down below or on the Discord server. I would be thrilled to have some more. Okay, next up is Catholic classical fiction. I owned 3 copies. I am going to talk about 1 other that I do not own a physical copy of, or I don't own any of his works. I haven't read any of them either. Okay, so first up would be Graham Greene, and he has an extensive back catalog. I have read nothing. He is a Catholic convert. He has a couple of non-fictions that I'm interested in as well. And the Catholic classic that I am most interested in that he wrote is pictured right here. The name just flew out of my head, but I want to get a copy of this and, see how I get on with it. I have not read anything by him. Didn't know he was Catholic until I started doing research for this reading challenge, and I am always glad to run across yet another Catholic author. So, okay, next up, another classic author I didn't know was Catholic, and I've read nothing by. That is Flannery O'Connor. This is her complete stories, and it's a collection of short stories. And I got this for under $9 on Walmart, and it is a beautiful cover. And she apparently she loved peacocks and raised them on her farm in Georgia. So I will read you the back of this one. The publication of this extraordinary volume firmly established Flannery O'Connor's monumental contribution to American fiction. There are 31 stories here, including 12 that do not appear in two other collections. Everything that rises must converge, and a good man is hard to find. The only story collections O'Connor put together during her short lifetime. O'Connor published her first work, The Geranium, in 1946, while a student at the Iowa Writers' Workshop. Arranged chronologically, this collection shows that her last story, Judgment Day, sent to her publisher shortly before her death, is brilliantly transfigured version of the Geranium. With an introduction by O'Connor's longtime friend and editor, Robert Garol, the complete stories reveals a lively, penetrating talent that has given us some of the most powerful and disturbing fiction of the 20th century. I'll read you the blurb about her life. Flannery O'Connor was born in Savannah, Georgia in 1925. A devout Catholic, she lived most of her life on a farm in Milledgeville, Georgia, where she raised peacocks and wrote. She was the author of 2 novels, Wise Blood and The Violent Bear It Away, 31 short stories, and numerous essays and reviews. When she died at the age of 39, America lost one of its most gifted writers at the height of her powers. So, a bind-up of 31 short stories under $10. I want to say it was actually under $8. Was a fantastic deal. So I'm going to read this over the course of the year. I don't think any of these are, particularly long. No, none of these are particularly long. So now that the dogs are done talking, none of these are very long. So I'm going to read this over the course of the year. I may talk about a particular story if they're, if it's very impactful, or I may just save the entire review for when it's complete. You'll know what I know. Next up for classic Catholic fiction is Brighthead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. I think this was on our reading schedule in high school and we ran out of time. I have not read it. I know that for a fact. I love this cover. And completely coincidentally, there are peacocks on the back of this one too. So I will read you the flap. The wellsprings of desire and the impediments to love come brilliantly into focus in Brideshead Revisited, a novel that immerses us in the glittery and seductive world of English aristocracy in the waning days of empire. Through the story of Charles Ryder's entanglement with the Flutes, a great Catholic family, Waugh charts the passing of the privileged world he knew in his own youth and vividly recalls the pleasures denied to him by wartime austerities. At once romantic, sensuous, comic, and somber, Brideshead Revisited transcends Waugh's early satiric exploration and reveals him to be an elegiac, lyrical novelist of the utmost feeling and lucidity. Written during World War II and first published in 1945, the novel has been beloved by generations of readers, and its screen adaptations include the extraordinarily popular 1981 miniseries that is widely considered one of the greatest television series of the 20th century. This 75th anniversary edition includes the author's preference to the 1959 text, a selection of letters Waugh wrote to his literary agent, A.D. Peters, and to his close friend, Nancy Mitford, about the writing and publication of the novel, and a reading group guide. Surprisingly, this copy was not very expensive. It is gorgeous. It even has, I don't know if you can see, deckled edges. So I am ecstatic with this. Okay, last up for classic Catholic fiction, and by no means is this an exhaustive list of classic Catholic fiction. You notice Tolkien isn't here. I could have easily included Lord of the Rings and anything he wrote, because it's impossible to read Tolkien and not understand that it is a Catholic fiction work, but I wanted to highlight some others. So next up is The Complete Stories of Father Brown by G.K. Chesterton. This is a Wordsworth Classic Edition, and I love the cover. And I love the fact that his umbrella is on the back. And I am going to, again, read this over the course of the year. It's divided into, I believe, 5 sections. So there's the innocence of Father Brown, and then the wisdom of Father Brown, the incredulity of Father Brown, the secret of Father Brown, and finally the scandal of Father Brown. And each section is a collection of short stories, none of whom are incredibly long. So, if I take one section a month, I read it in 5 months. And I am highly looking forward to it. If you enjoy Father Brown, I highly recommend the BBC series. It is available on BritBox, and I believe it's also available on Amazon Prime. It's absolutely fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so the last category for today in this video is Catholic secular fiction. And I know you're saying, Tammy, that makes no sense. You can't have those two things in the same, category. And I would beg to differ. I have 3 examples. All 3 examples have their feet firmly in the secular world, and yet all 3 books are most definitely the protagonist is a Catholic religious figure. There is Catholic, faith, not so much faith like you would hear in a homily on Sunday morning, but faith as you live it. In every book, I love every single one of these series. And again, this list is by no means exhaustive. I know I have yet more to explore on my Kindle for this category, so we shall see. But these 3 authors and series I can easily recommend. And that mug is not going to survive the year. So first up would be A Shameful Murder by Cora Harrison. This is the first book in the Reverend Mother series. It is a historical cozy. It is set in Cork, Ireland in the 1920s. And it is fantastic. I want to read everything she has written. This is the only book I own. I need to get the other ones. And I will read you the inside flap for this one. Cork, Ireland, 1923. When one wet March morning, Reverend Mother Aquinas discovers a body at the gate of the convent chapel, washed up after a flood. Like a mermaid in gleaming silver satin, she immediately sends for one of her former pupils, Police Sergeant Patrick Cashman, to investigate. Dead bodies are not unusual in the poverty-stricken slums of Cork, but this one is dressed in evening finery. In her handbag is a dance program for the exclusive merchants' ball held the previous evening, and a midnight ticket for the Liverpool ferry. Against the backdrop of a country in the midst of Ireland's civil war, the Reverend Mother, Sergeant Cashman, and Dr. Sher, an enlightened physician and friend, seek out the truth as to the identity of the victim and her killer. It was fabulous. It is absolutely fabulous. And then this is, I'm not sure what number this is. The next book is in the series, somewhere in the teens. That is Seeds of Doubt by Ralph McInerney. This is a Father Dowling mystery. And way back when I was growing up, these were on television, and they starred Tom Bosley, and they were fantastic. I don't know if they're streaming anywhere. I'm curious, though, because I would watch them again in a heartbeat. And I will read you the flap of this one. Oh, it even tells me. Seed of Doubt is the 16th mystery to feature Roger Dowling, the insightful and understanding priest of Fox River, Illinois. Seed of Doubt marks a departure from the earlier books in the series, known for their humor, humanity, and grasp of religious issues. More rich and complex than ever before, McInerney's latest effort weaves the past and present motives and events, plunging Father Dowling into the heart of the conflicted Sinclair family. Margaret Sinclair, a wealthy dowager and member of Dowling's parish, dies suddenly and suspiciously. A full oxygen tank easily within her reach, her private nurse out of earshot, the owner of a collection of landscape paintings by a famous American artist, Sinclair herself appeared in one of the few portraits the artist ever painted. As the family squabbles over the contents of the will, it becomes clear to Father Dowling that neither the old woman's life nor her death was ordinary. Then a second death occurs in the Sinclair mansion, and a tragic mystery from the old woman's youthful honeymoon reemerges to affect her heirs. Both are somehow connected to the portraits, as Father Dowling probes for truth about a complicated family. I have not read this one. I'm going to read this one this year. I absolutely love these books. And as you can tell, there's, there is some faith in all of them, but it is mostly dealing with the real world, so thus secular. And the last Catholic secular fiction book, or particularly author I can recommend, is Gary McAvoy. I have read the first in this series, that is The Magdalena Deception. In the series is The Magdalena Chronicles. I just read this. I will link that video down below. And I discovered this author thanks to the wonderful Chrissy over at Chrissy's Purple Library. He has 2 series, at least, that I'm incredibly interested in. I will read them all. If you like the Da Vinci Code, you will definitely enjoy this first book. I'm looking forward to the second one immensely. And it is definitely secular in tone, but it is definitely Catholic as well. So, thus the odd categorization, but it's perfect. So, okay. That is the first set of recommendations for this year's challenge. I don't know what 3 will be in the second video, but I'm looking forward to it. So, are you going to join us? Please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.